Hello, welcome to this podcast. My name is Beatrice Marse. I am a singer songwriter from France. So, today, at the time of recording, I haven't decided yet what the title of this podcast is gonna be, but I want to talk about gear, music equipment, and everything, and how usually musician, artists in general, actually we either crave or lust on equipment. But as I was saying before, we living a time where we are kind of lucky because there's a thing called the internet, the influencers and manufacturers who are actually giving, landing, and people actually purchasing the equipment before everyone else, and actually testing the equipment and putting videos on YouTube so you can see how the equipment work. And for people like me with a very very small budget, it's very useful because I don't have to actually, like it was like years ago. And I think like yesterday I was like cleaning up a bit, and I lay my hands on old lyrics, old stuff, the thing I was doing, like something like almost like, yeah, 18-20 years ago. So I think I'm going to do a podcast on that. Might be the next one. I don't know yet. But yeah, so basically you have the internet, and basically what I usually do, and I said I was going to stop to say basically, so and I really need to think about it, right? So what I usually do is that whenever I'm aware of a piece of equipment, I usually go to the internet, YouTube, Google things, see the price, and after when I see the price, I go on YouTube and see if people have actually made a video on the equipment and see how the whole thing works and how the sound is gonna be like, you know. So and I think everyone does that. It's as simple as that. So right now, I have to say, I'm I'm not lusting anymore. I think I'm craving on the Behringer crave. Yes. I heard the sound. It happened to me with the Unosynth few months back. I actually bought it on Amazon and returned it because it was faulty. I realized that I like the sound, but I felt uncomfortable with something, and then because it was faulty, I said to myself, "Well, I'm gonna return it. I'm not gonna like try. I want to get my money back." As yeah. I think I was. I'm wondering now if it's not almost 2 years. I can't remember. So now, now, I have to say, I fell in love with the neutron that I have, but I'm craving on, I have a craving on the Behringer, crave. And as I was saying before on the other podcast, I'm also very much interested with the Eurorack modules that Behringer is gonna like put on the market pretty much shortly, I guess. Uh, I've subscribed to their YouTube channel, watching the videos. I'm thinking, there are sounds that I like. So, just to say, it's when I say we're lusting, we're craving on equipment, we never have that much money so to actually buy the equipment. So, it's a bit of a problem. And when I started a long time ago, the first time I did it, it was like, I think maybe over 30 years ago, something like that. Uh, I said to myself, well, at the time, I had no money. I said, how am I going to do that? And it was something kind of fate somehow, because I was living abroad. I was studying computing, and I had to and actually it's way before that. When I think about it, I was working with somebody who had the Atari ST set up to actually record music, inviting me to actually come to his place, a home studio, and I saw how it was working, and suddenly I have to say I saw the light. At the time I saw like that, I say I need to do that. but I didn't have any money. And fate, as it turned out to be, made it that I was very pretty much interested with computers since the beginning. I had a Sinclair ZX81 for the connoisseur, okay, the connoisseur. That was my very first computer, and and uh, and I have to say, when I heard about the idea of a computer, I knew that it was the thing. So, few years back, so I was studying computing. I didn't have any money, so I've learned from some friends at the time and just built a computer for myself, a PC. And I realized that, yeah, and then it was the age of piracy and everything. So I've managed to actually identify identify what I needed to actually set up a small home studio with a cheap budget. So I still have recordings on my on my hard disk or CDs. So then, yeah, it was a beginning. That's all I can say. So I moved on the line. I remember I had a module at the time. I was using a module to actually record everything. It was the Roland SC7 that actually sold like a few years ago. So it was tricky, and Verona SC7 was actually the cheapest I could actually buy at the time to do what I wanted to do, and I was just recording musical instrument sound from the MIDI and nothing else. Uh, Later on, I decided to add a lead guitar as I've upgraded my setup, and it was still on PC, Windows PC, and then I moved on. Then I went into the Akai DPS16 that I've sold a few years ago. It was good, but it wasn't what I wanted to do. I felt kind of limited, but I have to say, with this one, I had an idea, I had an obsession at the time, and I thought I wanted to record an album where it would be an electric guitar, the bass, and some drums. That's yeah. I tried to and something like it was like over something like 20 years ago. That's what around 20 years ago. That's what I realized yesterday. So I did it, and for the occasion, I actually bought an amplifier. It was a Vox, I think it's ADV30 or something like that. So I went into Vox and I did what I wanted to do. So and I remember the name, more or less remember the name of the album. It was something in short pieces, but I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed recording it. I enjoyed the album. So I need to listen to it, and I don't know if I'm going to release one day, but maybe. So that was me. Excuse me. That was my adventure with trying to record, and then there's now, and that makes me think. So if you're an aspiring record producer, musician, or artist, it's true that the real question is, what do I need? And it's true that the basic, it's you need a computer nowadays. It's much more easier. Any computer that will be able to run a DAW, and then you need a piece of equipment, and it could be cheap, dirt cheap, to actually either record the your electric guitar if you're thinking about, or record your voice if you're thinking about recording your voice, or something to record your electric guitar on. And then you've got those MIDI sounds if you like them. And then if you actually like virtual instrument, then as long as you got a microphone, you can do it. And then nowadays the entry price is compared to like 30 years back, is dirt cheap. Really, it's dirt cheap. That's what I can say. So it's almost no excuses. So that was what I wanted to say. And yes, as artists, we tend to lust on gear. So, and the thing is, the way it works with me. So I don't know about you if you're an artist, and it's I notice a piece of equipment. As I say, I'm going to YouTube, try to hear the sounds, and most of the time it just clicks. That's it. So, and you said, and you're gonna say, how did I do that amplifier, that Vox? I knew the sound Vox, and basically I bought the amplifier because I wanted the sound Vox, the Vox sounds on my recordings. And nowadays, I'm more or less like working the same way. I listen to the sound of a piece of equipment, and in my brain there's a connection. I can say, yeah, instantly I know that I saying to myself, I can work with a sound, and therefore looking at the prices, see, and saying, yeah, it's something I need to add to what I'm working with because it's gonna work for me. I know it's gonna work for me. So this is the way I do things. So I have a home studio. It's a small setup. It's dirt cheap. Well, compared to other studios, it's nothing very fancy. It does the work. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm just glad that I've got those pieces of equipment because otherwise I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing anyway. But the question is, do I need a certain type of gear? Yes, as a basic setup, yes, you do. As I said before, microphone, a piece of equipment so you can actually input some instruments if you're playing a guitar. Of course, with Yodo, you get the MIDI sound, so you covered on these bases. And then there's what you can add to your setup, and then it depends on you. So I remember I was in a stage like 30 years back. I was kind of I wanted, yeah, more or less. Oh yeah, I remember I had that Akai sampler at the time, Akai S2000 that I've sold. It took it, and I had some trouble to actually use it, I have to say. And I had another module that I wanted it because I wanted them because at the time everyone seems to actually work with that, and I wanted it. And it's something I would not do anymore because, as I said before, now I'm able to actually go to YouTube like you can do, look at the various gear, videos on various gear, and decide which one is going to fit my setup and fit the way I actually record things and come up with music. So, yeah. So you have to ask yourself a question: if you are to buy a piece of equipment, what do I want to record? What type of music do I need to record? How do I want to record it? Am I a kind of sample person? Do I want to sample a lot? Do I want to play a lot of real instrument? Do I really want to play the instrument? Do I want to use MIDI sounds of real instruments? Also, I'm starting slowly to go into, am I into modular synthesis? Okay. Do I want to make some music that will fade away pretty as soon as I've done it, like modular synthesis, or do I want to record everything I do? So this is the kind of question you need to ask yourself before you actually decide to actually buy any equipment. And the thing is, the best thing you have to do, that's what I do usually, is that you need to make a list of the would-be equipment, and then according to what you want to do, okay, make a decision, the purchase decision. And the thing is, what I tend to, yeah, what I tend to think, but it's best to actually buy secondhand if you can. But I have to say, when I think about it, all the stuff I have right now, they not secondhand. They were either on sales or B condition on the site I've bought them from. So that was that. I think the best purchase I had, and it wasn't that expensive, is the Mackie Big Knob passive monitor controller. That's the thing is, yeah, I think I bought it for something like €39. That was the best because I realized that the site was actually making an offer for purchase. So take advantage of it. So yeah, you really need to ask yourself before you actually spend the money. Lost a lot, okay. Look at a lot of video, and decide what of make sure you need to be sure before you purchase. You need to be sure of the type of music you want to make. That's the final thing. Because otherwise you're gonna spend money for nothing and you're gonna be disappointed. It's okay if you really want to test things like I was doing like 20-30 years ago, but nowadays I guess what I'm saying is that the testing phase is it's much more easier for you because you can see people testing the gear in front of you on YouTube. So it's easier to actually it's easier for your purchasing power somehow. So yeah, and most of the time, okay, it's true. Artists have no money to buy the gear. So anyway, so I'm not much into. Even though I've done it, but it's really rare. Yes, basically, it comes as a cycle. I remember I've done the when I've worked with that Vox amplifier. Then I went into a cycle when I realized that I had some piece of equipment, so I've sold them. Didn't buy anything else after that because I went into the desert, the island, in a desertic island. I would say artistically, I couldn't write anymore, but I have some personal trouble with it anyway. So that was preventing me to actually do anything. I just fell into them, and I was caught up on the whole thing. So and then I decided to do it again. So basically, it was like dusting over what I had, making a few purchases to actually start again, and then that's the setup I have right now. So yes, I have some very old piece of equipment in my home studio that are not worth anything for some of them. And then yeah, I tend to what I was trying to say is that I do not even though yes, actually yeah, I remember I've bought those mini chord module. I've got one left that I haven't sold. I've sold the chord mono duo. I've sold the chord mono delay, and I've got the chord duo monotone. The last it's on sale on my eBay page, and I still need to sell it. But as fat as it, I might. I reckon I might be able to use it again if I don't sell it pretty soon. I would say that. But yeah, I'm not the type of person to actually, because of the way I work, I'm not the type of person to buy, and because I have no money anyway, to buy a piece of equipment and sell it as soon as. It's usually because I'm really thinking it very much, thinking very deeply into the purchase thingy. So usually when I actually buy something, I know I'm going to use it until it's kind of obsolete, or I really change my mind. And because somehow what I'm saying, I'm more kind of mature with what I'm doing nowadays. It goes that I don't sell my stuff as quickly as other people will be. But the main thing is still you need to decide what type of music you want to record. And because nowadays I know exactly what type of music I'm doing, and what type of music and where I want to go with my music. It's much more easier for me to actually decide what I need to purchase. And right now, I'm craving for. I'm not even lusting anymore. I'm craving over the Behringer Crave, and I'm lusting over all those Eurorack module from Behringer. So that was it for today. That was a. I was trying to reflect upon. Yeah, I was thinking about it last time. I think I'm going to do a podcast on that. So I'm saying video because, as usual, I'm recording this podcast on video, and you can see a recording of this podcast on my YouTube channel called Beatrice Marse. And the good thing is for the subscribers, and album number 7 is still going. I finished the track I was working on. I've started to work. Came back to a track I've started like a few months back, and then And I think that number 7 is gonna be, I think might be the last track on number 7. I don't know yet. Yeah, nothing is written on the marble yet, but I see shortly how it goes with that thing. So from this moment, thank you for listening to me or watching me if you're on YouTube. Hello, thank you very much. And you hear from me on the next recording and on the next podcast. And I don't know what the subject is going to be. Maybe I should talk, well, as I was saying, I should talk about what I was doing, like something like 20 years ago and maybe 30 years ago. I'll think about it. I'll decide how I will structure the podcast. That's it. Oh, I can even do 2 podcasts. I don't know. So anyway, thank you very much, and see you next time. Bye.